To dive deep today into a topic that involves the whole process of automation. I think defining automation is, first of all, an important thing for people to understand because what is automation?
Right. Simply put, using systems, computers, and numerous different processes to help remove humans from certain processes. Right. So, automation. I my background has been in manufacturing engineering. So, automation for us was how do we make sure that we're doing the same consistent work, and then that we're also keeping up the same quality. Right. So if you imagine if you're a manufacturer and you've got 100,000 widgets that you've got to produce, right? It makes sense to want to use automation to help you with some of those repetitive workflows, and then also to help you scale. I think that's the most important piece about automation is it helps enable some of those scale pieces. So, yeah, point blank period, using software, different tools to help remove systems from the process and automate any boring or repetitive workflows that you have.
And those boring workflows, how do companies figure out what they are?
Well, I originally what they taught me back in my day is um the idea of lean manufacturing, which also spilled into lean startup methodology. And basically, the idea is you want to eliminate waste wherever possible, and waste can look like materials waste. It could look like human waste, right? Doesn't make sense for me to keep writing all these things out if I could. There's a better solution out there, right? And so that's where it starts with is usually waste. How can we get rid of any redundant processes or things that just aren't serving us, right? And then the second piece to that is once you are sort of eliminate the general waste pieces, then it becomes a game of optimizing, right? Like how can we make sure that we can integrate with that automation and it works well with integrate well with our workflows, because I think that's the biggest question, Neil, for folks is I want to do automation for my business but I don't know where to start, right? And there have been a number of tools that are coming out to actually assist with that workflow build out. So N8N is something that we talked about that is becoming really prevalent. Zapier was before known as the main automating player, but they're legacy automation firm. Now the N8N, they're built with kind of AI native in mind, and so it makes it a little bit easier to integrate into those products. So, but I think there's one additional thing here to remember too. There are different levels of automation complexity, right? And I think some people need to recognize that as well. So you can have something that's a low complexity automation. Basically, hey, anytime someone submits something on the form on the website, it shoots me an SMS. Nice little automation, nothing too complicated. But then when you start talking about a bank, for example, how can you automate fraud detection practices? That's a totally different complexity that requires a lot more input, a lot more controls, and a lot more human involvement just to make sure the system runs properly. So you're either low, medium, or high complexity as it relates to automation. And most folks, if you don't haven't started anywhere, start with the basics of your workflow. Start with low complexity, then work your way up as your business scales.
So, what stuff is the first thing that should be automated, in your opinion?
Well, the first thing that should be automated, I would look at what are the core service or product flows in your business that you either spend the most money on or you spend the most time on. And take a look at those factors, and ultimately you could do an analysis to say, hey, this has been our biggest bottleneck. We want to be able to service 1,000 customers, and we're not able to do that because of X. So I kind of find out what that bottleneck is as it relates to how you scale your business or organization, and then um, first talk with the people in that department to say, hey, what are some tasks that we can take off your plate? What are some things that aren't critical to you in your day-to-day operation? because that's what automation will do for us. It ultimately should help us to free up time to focus on the more important work. And that's what I've spent the majority of my life doing for businesses, if not through digital transformation and helping them build products, but then also tying that into the internal side of things of, okay, how do we make sure that all your internal business systems are connected? Which once they're finally connected and you've got a well-running machine, the results are very plentiful, right?
So
So,
identifying that fact and what automations can't be done at this point in time.
um, you know what can't be automated right now? Human connection, especially as it relates to marketing, and sales, right? You could use automation to help you assist with a lot of those activities, but I think what people are failing to understand, especially in the age of AI and automation, is that connection is the key thing that drives revenue, especially when you're talking with users, trying to find out their pain point, and then finally delivering that solution. That's not going to change over the next 50, 100 plus years. Humans are going to be at the core of, communicating problems. And if you shouldn't just throw an automation at something just for the hell of it. It should be solving a real true pain point that people have right now. It's like, hey, I'm running this process and I hate it. If people start hating the processes that they're working on, probably time to start automating it.
Exactly, because at that point in time, you see it as just such a pain in the neck. And it just all depends. And it depends on what type of structure you have, what type of organization you have, all those different things. So what can be automated today? Can you give me a list, like 10 things?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple different things, a couple things that come to mind on the sales side. Sales intelligence. So if I have a list of leads, it can go in, help me figure out, is this lead the best lead for me, and do a little bit of scoring, and then kind of pre-qualify them. Generally, a sales rep spends a lot of time doing manual research and prospect research. So if you could use automation or AI to help you with that process, that's great. And then you still have to do your human side and make the connection. So sales, support systems, big time. Marketing support systems. We're now using lots of tools. There are some blogs now that'll help you basically take a podcast like this, turn it into a blog, and then also turn it into like a Substack, right? So I think people need to, and the marketing perspective, use automation to help drive that distribution across different channels, and then of course optimize your content. Don't let AI be led. Don't be AI led in your marketing, but hope it assists you in getting connected to the right people. And then operations, that's huge. We talk about digital transformation all the time here at UX Bright, and the idea is, like we talked about earlier, is finding those bottlenecks in your business. What's preventing you from scaling? Implement that new system and start reaping those benefits. So operations could look like anything on the technical side. If you're a SaaS business, helping you connect different systems, or if you're just a manual business, right? You're running everything by pen and paper. There are ways that you can automate things, and then administration. Those are some of going to be your biggest wins. We're finding now that people are using AI accounting software, right? Kind of tell you, okay, where's the forecast? Here's what's coming in. You can also automate secretaries now, right? I've been talking to a lot of business owners about getting a sort of AI secretary, or using automation to just help them connect
The
with their
AI agent.
clients.
And that's
Right.
where you can build all that. And that involves workflows. So it goes back to you as a designer and a technology person that you got to build workflows to get these things to do it.
Right, and it has to be a main pain point too. One thing that I'll mention, I browse Reddit a lot, especially the N8N and other automation subreddits, and there seems to be this super big flood of saturation of everyone wants to teach you how to do AI. Everyone wants to teach you how to do these things, and let me sell you a course on how to do AI. But in reality, there's no point in throwing NAN at a small business if they can't even solve the basics, right? And what I think a lot of people need to realize is you need to solve business pain points. That's where automation actually has value. You, I wouldn't just throw an automation at a business just for the sake of automation. Sometimes tools without automation work just as well. So that's the one thing I would just say is with the landscape is you don't need to automate everything. It's like using a using a jackhammer to screw to hammer a nail. Like sometimes you just really need a hammer and start with the hammer, figure out, okay, if I got more than one nail, then look at the, those bigger tools, right? So
It's quite intriguing stuff, Chris, when you kind of break things down in certain ways involving this. And it's like, what can you get automated? So, for example, you can do LinkedIn connections as an
yeah,
automation.
LinkedIn.
You can do likes of posts. There's certain automations that are allowed in API for a lot of different characters. You just really have to basically understand what you're doing with
Yes.
it. And you got to always update. So just because someone sets up an automation for you doesn't mean it's going to work next week.
Yeah, I'm so glad you said that. Because yeah, automation maintenance is super important. You still need a human in the loop. And it doesn't mean, yep, I'll set up this automation system and hands off, Jesus take the wheel. That's not how that should work, right? It should never. I think some people in their mind they have the concept of when they hear automation is 100% automation, where I'm not involved in the process at all. You should want to be involved in the processes of the daily workflows of your business. For you to step away and not look at the automation and not see what the AI is actually doing and producing, that will be a lot of folly for businesses here.
And so when to do automation and not do automation, you got to schedule a call with you and you kind of break down where
Absolutely.
if the automation's the thing, and you don't have a workable website or you don't have the ability to gather leads or simple tasks before that or don't have content, automation is not going to matter for your
Nope.
business so you bring in the leads.
Nope, exactly. Yeah, ideally, you should have some established systems in place for your business. Otherwise, yeah, automation doesn't make sense.
All right.
Um, so,
Perfect. UXbright.com. Appreciate it, Christopher.
absolutely. Thank you.
All right. That's a special simulcast of the Neil Haley Show and the UX Bright